Well, good evening, everyone. Hopefully, this is working streaming across both platforms. Seems to be. Just having a look at. Mainly the YouTube. I think Twitch is working perfectly fine. Yeah, the other ones are YouTube. So I posted the link out on Twitter and LinkedIn. So yeah, if you could have a check and see if it's doing its thing. It's good that Twitch is alright. YouTube's status page is a bit slow to update, but that's okay. Alrighty. I've also changed my setup a little more. Bit of a brighter light in the ring light, so now people can actually see me. Cameras, I'm not sure that I'm using a phone as a camera, which is interesting. And I've changed the resolution on my primary screen, so now I actually get full screen and not this wide screen with bars and all sorts of awkwardness. So hopefully that's going to make things a bit clearer. Let's have a look. Cool. Alright, awesome. And I can see the messages coming in through my Streamlabs setup. So I can see both chats from Twitch and YouTube at the same time. Might have to do the chat overlay thing as it's on multiple streams, but I can look at that later on. Cool. Looks like it is working. Alrighty. So I've also done a intro YouTube video, which I'll share out after the stream. It's pretty low quality. It's I just wanted to get it. Yeah, I think YouTube takes a bit more processing time. Could be the ingress. I think Twitch is a bit faster. Twitch is the primary on the multi-stream accounts, so that could be it too. So that's alright. Gives people options on where they would like to watch. I think that's the main thing. I think Twitch can be a bit intimidating for some people who aren't used to it. Cool. Alright, thank you. I hope everyone's having a nice Monday. So I'm not planning on streaming Mondays as a normal at this stage. Streaming schedule will be Tuesday, Thursday, maybe Sunday. I'll update the whole Twitch page. I need to rebrand the Twitch page a bit like the YouTube channel. Since I'm trying to move away from the DMC as a service because it looks like DMCA and I don't want to be associated with DMCA, especially through the whole takedown thing. So I rebranded to Dylan DevX, and cool, that's where we're at there. Alright, everything looks good. All my statistics on all of my things look good. Bitrate is good on both. Alright, cool. Alrighty, well then, I guess we should have a look at doing some coding and see how it goes over some time. Cool, so tonight I'm going to have a look at .NET Aspire. So this is something I've been meaning to look to. I've done like the very basic kind of an initial look about a week and a bit ago. Didn't really get very far into it, so I thought it'd be a good time to have a look at it and see where it's going. So what is it? Why is we doing it? So, from what I can understand, .NET Spy is a way of allowing us to orchestrate applications, specifically for .NET, and it looks around the how do I do a distributed application in development, how do I develop that locally, and then how do I go from there to deployment and run the whole thing in deployment. So let's have a look at the quick start. It's usually a good place to start. So we might need to run this .NET command to get the Aspire workload. We need Docker desktop. I will need to check. Let me just check if Docker is running. I believe it is. Sometimes I'm turning it off just for a bit more RAM. See if I can wake it up. No, was asleep, so we'll wake up Docker, and we'll use VS Code for our IDE. So the first thing, let's go and have a look at installing this. So this should be fairly straightforward. So I'll pop up, get our terminal running, and we'll squish this down to the side a bit, and we will grab this one and move that over as well. Sorry, I'm getting used to the new resolution. Hopefully this isn't too squeezy and cluttered and people can see what's going on. Okay, so cool. So we'll do a .NET workload update. So make sure we're getting the latest workloads. Oop, and I have a pop-up. There we go. Cool. So that's doing its thing. Alrighty. So workloads are updated. Cool. So now we will install the Aspire one. So .NET workload install Aspire. Cutting off my terminal a bit, so let's. Oop, another pop up. That's alright. Cool. Aspire is installed, and then we can do a .NET workload list to see what workloads we have in, and Aspire's in there. Alright, great. So let's do the sample. Squish this a little bit again. Let's do that. So Aspire starter. Now, use Redis cache. It'll be interesting to see what it does here. I think they've also been able to move away from Redis. Obviously, Redis has some licensing things going on at the moment. I haven't caught up the latest to that. So let's go. What's going on here? Apparently, I was trying to do some monogame. It's an older template. That's right. Okay, cool. We have our Aspire sample. There's a solution. Alright, I'm going to reopen. Can I just do an open? Would be nice if I had an option just to kind of select it and then tell it to reopen the window from that directory. But that's right. We'll do this, and we'll go to .NET and we'll Aspire. Because I just don't want .NET trying to go, like, put a solution in the thing above, in the directory above. I'm going to try and keep it clean. Okay, cool. So, we have an app host. This an API service, some service defaults, a web service, and an app host. So let's get our terminal back. So it says to run the project. Spire sample. Now, let's see if that detects it. What it's telling us to do with that one is actually run it from the previous directory, but that's alright. Alright, so it looks like things are starting up. Okay. So, there should be a dashboard which has popped up. So I'm getting a localhost port here. So let's go, and it'll tell us the connection is private. That's fine. Enter the token to log in. That'll be this here. This will be our token. Do a login. No, did I miss? Did I miss something? Alright. Let's grab this instead. See if that wants to work a bit better for us. So Redis, thanks. Yeah, Redis had a licensing change where I don't think it's going the same as HashiCorp, but it's an open source project that hasn't really been making money. They want to try and monetize it, but I believe the way they're doing it, and there's other content on YouTube. I don't have all the facts in my head at the moment. But from my understanding, it's a bit of a rug pull on what they were doing with Redis. And some people are pretty unhappy with the way that licensing is played out. Yeah, if you're watching two streams, it can get a little messy. So, but yeah, I mostly need to look more at what's happening with that Redis, because especially if it's a service that everyone uses, a cache. I think there was Project Gradle, I think it was called, from Microsoft. The Gradle? Or not Gradle, Graphite. No, not Graphite. Can't remember what it's called. I think it started with G, and there was a project to do a kind of cache, more in an open source way than Redis used to do, but doesn't do anymore. All right, so this does not. Oh, there we go. Took a minute. So got some errors. Not seeing any errors inside here. Let's go have a look at our developer tooling. More tools. Developer tools. What errors are we getting? SSL errors. Yeah, okay, so that's an issue because we haven't trusted the .NET certs. So, alright, let's go do that before we try and get any further. Now, if I can't remember how to do that, trust dev cert. There it is. So we do. Alright. And we'll also see. That doesn't have volume for that, that's fine. Make sure I'm not missing. That's just HTTPS. We might need to specify the trust. Install this certificate. There we go. Oh, thank you for the new follower. Thanks, Will. Got it. That's it. Thank you, Will. I was trying to figure out what it was called. It was Microsoft. Got it. There you go. Remote cache store. Something to look into. Maybe not tonight, but definitely something to look into. So yeah, it's pretty much aimed to be a drop-in replacement for Redis. I did read some of that. I think the Spire team has been working on getting Garnet going. Yeah, MIT license. So we look at it was. What is it? There we go. There's a blog post from Microsoft about it. So it's moving away from the BSD 3-clause license to a dual license model, offering developers choice between a Redis source available license or a server-side public license. Now, I'm sure there's lots of detail about how that works, but because it's moving away from MIT and Apache and all those kind of open source licenses, people aren't happy with that. But yeah, so that's all right. But that's a thing for another day. That's a good side tangent, but definitely one to look at later around what is the licensing difference, what does it mean, and how can we use Garnet instead of Redis. Cool. All right, so we trusted those certs. Now let's see if I can rerun the app host and see if it can get going. All right. I'm going to assume that token has changed because it's a token. It should do that. There we go. That was the issue. Always trust your dev certs. So this is also a reason that in my new home lab I've set up a reverse proxy with using Let's Encrypt to actually give me certificates so I can assign host names internally in my system to the certificate, so I actually get a trusted certificate within the environment, which will make things easier. Alright, so let's have a look here. So we've got container running cache, and we have the project app service and the project web front end. So now if we open up the web front end, get our little web front end, and then I'm going to assume the API service, which has 2 endpoints, has both HTTP and HTTPS, and these will be the weather forecast. So the data we got here is represented in the data we have here. So that would be calling the API. I'm not sure what the cache is doing, but that's okay. I'm sure it's caching something, so that's alright. So let's have a look then at what we're actually doing code-wise. So the app host itself. So the app host is actually, let's expand this out. Alright, so we have a builder which is adding the Redis cache. We have builder adding the projects, so that's adding that API service, and then it's adding the web front end and telling it that it references cache and the API service. So what we should do here to see how it works is let's build another API. So let's come in here. I'll drop that down for the moment. And what I'm going to do is say .NET add, also .new, we'll call it an API, and we'll call it Spire sample And let's call it what are we going to call it? Something API. We'll call it Stream API. There we go. A Stream API service. So it's an API for Stream. Okay. So we do that. So that'll create the new project. And then we want to go in and add the project. Because we are using a solution here. Sample. And we called it Stream. And no. Okay, cool. So that's added to the project now. So let's go in to here. And we will create a new online true or false. No, not gonna like that. And we'll just do yes and no. I'm still doing apparently it still wants to think that that's string, so we will actually put it into being a string. Cool. So we'll call this get stream status, and we're going to return I'm just going to turn that one because we are online. And name get stream status. Okay. Alright. So we're going to build this up. And we're going to have an endpoint called stream status. And it's going to return a value of yes. Okay, so that should be fine. Don't see any obvious issues here. Let's just do a build, make sure everything is building, and we built the new stream service. So now if we come into here, we should be able to do project. Now, interesting, it's not coming up with our new service. Well, we don't want to do not need the cache. So, okay. Where are they added? So those are some defaults. Maybe it needs to be added in as a project reference. Could be it. We called it services. Yep, capitalize it. Okay. There we go. That was all I was missing. Cool. So you've got to add it in, not just into this file, but you also and the solution, but you also need to add a reference into the app host project. Cool. So let's add it here with reference. Get rid of that. Cool. So now we should be referencing that web front end. Cool. So now if we go down to the web front end, now do I also... No, so this project has referenced the service defaults and it has a Redis application thing there, so that's fine, but it hasn't got a reference to the actual API service, so that's fine. And we have our API client there, so let's make a new client. Call it stream status, stream API client, that's fine. And we'll grab the same namespace, make sure we're working in the same area. Yep. Do we inherit from... No, we don't. We're not doing any inheritance on that. And then HTTP client. Okay. No, I don't... I'm not getting the weather forecast. So, which is that whole task. So we will... So let's pop this over here just as a reference, because I keep going back to it, because I just want to get the structure very similar, which would be good. Just while I'm checking, let's make sure. Yep, everything still seems to be running smoothly. Okay, great. Alright, so gonna do... We'll have a string, and we'll call stream status. We can leave that as null for the moment. Actually, that's within the task. No, at the top level. So we go public async task, and we will just call it string for the moment. Get stream status async. And we just want to call that endpoint. Is that what I called the endpoint? Let's go find out. So at least from a logical perspective though, what I'm seeing here is that because everything's in a big monorepo, effectively it's really easy for me to go and check another project and be like, hey, what is that endpoint called? I can just go to the project and be like, oh yeah, hey, here it is. Scaling wise will be interesting, and the other thing that will be interesting is if you do have a team working on this and you've got quite a few developers, are you going to see a lot of issues with merge conflicts and things because people rapidly working on a monorepo? That's always the thing that I find with monorepos is you've got a lot of high velocity going. It can be difficult to keep up with all of the merge requests. When people are doing PRs, PRs get left behind because people keep doing fast forwards. I think there's some work being made with that, trying to do like a fast forward within a PR when you close the PR. Kind of does a repaste and a merge for you and checks to make sure there's no conflicts. But it's just something to be aware of when you're doing monorepos, that can be an issue. Alright, so oh, yep, called /stream status, that's fine. So we should be able to do that. Alright, so let's now just go and... Okay, so we need to add in the new HTTP client here. Client. Okay, cool. And this is cool. This is something I like. So what we've got here is when we're talking to the base address, because we are working within a containerized environment, containers are aware of each other. internally they have names, so I don't need to go and find out what name is this running under, because that's being populated. It's also using this HTTPS plus HTTP, so it's preferring HTTPS over HTTP, but it's doing the automatic find. Cool. Alright. Interesting. Okay, so that's fine. And let's go and make a new page. We'll call this stream status.restore. And again, I'll go and steal base information from here. So page stream status, and then don't put a capital A there, may help. Attribute. We're not using a cache on this one, so we don't really need to cache those outputs, so that should be fine. Even then, we wanted that API would be more of a live one. You would actually want live unless you have massive traffic. So I don't see really the point of doing a cache on that one. So let's inject the stream client, page title, stream status. What am I missing here? Inject, what did I call it? Stream PI client. There we go. Cool. Naming is not exactly being consistent, but that's alright. For this, if I was going to do anything further with it, then I'd definitely do a bit more like naming conventions and things like that. So stream status. That's fine. Let me say that. Well, we don't need a table because there's only one thing being referenced. So just do now. Missing that here, so we go code. Okay, that doesn't. Now, do we have? What am I doing in here? Where's it getting the web? It's getting a record. Where are we defining the record down there? Okay, so let's. Okay, maybe we should do that just for CC. Okay, so that's fine. So then what we should say is that there. So now when we come back to this, we want this task to be stream status being returned from here. Now it's telling me it cannot convert a string. That's fine. Now I want to redo this because we're not getting a string async, so it's we're going to get from JSON async, and we want that to be stream status. Okay, and then we'll want that to be, so let's do, and then we'll say status equal to that, and then end return status. Sure, we could do that. That'll be fine. Cool. So, all right. So we get stream status from there. So let's now. We can. Yeah. Now, that's telling us something because called the page the wrong thing. Alright, let's rename the page because I'm having a naming conflict there. We'll just call it status. So the page is status. So this is now the record stream status. And now that works. And then we can do this. Okay, cool. Let's bounce back to the actual API itself because we'll have to implement that. I'm going to lowercase that so that I don't have to deal with that. We're not going to be returning that. Now where do we just define the record in there somewhere? Where's the example? We just define the record down here. Okay, cool. So just go back to here. We can just say record stream status. And we say status here, and here we'll say what are we doing? Now it's doing a random thing. I'm not gonna do a random. I'm just gonna return a 0 at the moment. And then we can return status. Cool. Alrighty. So, I'm turning OK with status. I don't need to do any conversions. That should be fine. That should convert that to JSON for me. That stream status looks like that stream status. Just says public record. That's fine. Record stream status. Okay, so that should be fine. Don't see any straight up horrible issues here. Actually, let's ask Copilot. Right, see if it can see any issues for me. And it doesn't see the code. That's okay. So let's give it the code. Let's first of all give it a workspace. Okay, client. See if it can determine from workspace for us. a nifty feature when it does work. So it'll go collect information about the workspace and try and find relevant information. And nope, still doesn't quite get this, so that's alright. So what we do is, can I do the, what is it called? What's the way to add a file? There it is, file. So let's add these files. Oop. And let's see if it'll work with this code. Alright, so it's telling me that it's throw an issue because that's not technically being initialized. Alright, let's have a look at what it told us. So it's just that this, I think that should work, but let's make sure we're doing it. There we go. So it's telling us it can be simplified, and what's the simplification? The simplification is what we did. Alright, cool. Also, a thing to be aware of is when Copilot, it's like, hey, this thing is wrong. It could just be that it's out of date and it hasn't seen the new one. So that's fine, that's fine. And that all seems to be fine. Cool, so now on the API client itself, it's telling us that we should be adding in here a private read-only client. And then we should be putting that in a constructor, which is normally what you do with dependency injection. Now, that's giving us an issue. Type already defines, because we're doing that way, aren't we? Again, new .NET things. So that public class is, because yeah, normally you do a public class. So this is like, let's just pop that for the moment, and then if we did this. That would be fine. So what is that called? It's just using a primary. So that's called a primary constructor. Okay, cool. Didn't run into that one before. That's obviously a .NET 8 feature, or whatever the C# version is on that. Cool. Primary constructors from the class name. All right, fair enough. Boop, boop, boop. And then this is, so this is how you would then do a read-only field if you're doing dependency injection and you wanted to use the HTTP client later in a different. So because read-only, that's the read-only one. What happens if I took it away? It's just referring to the parameter. Is that good? I mean, it's neater if we don't have it. I mean, less lines, it's neater. being succinct, and then if I had a different just let's just put in, and there is no post, but that's fine. And that's having more of an issue with the. What is that issue it's having? Trying to do something with the stream status that's not. Not sure what it's doing with that one. That's alright. So we said. Let's see status. Call that status response. And then return. That's the HTTP message. So that's the response, because that's returning the HTTP response. And then we want to say results. Results are unknown. There we go, that looks nice. But what I was testing here was, does this carry over as a property or parameter to both? And it does. So, yeah, okay. That's fine. Well, we're not going to use that. That's alright. Cool. Let's give it a build. Everything seems to build. And let's run the Outpost project and see what happens. See what I've done to this. Alright, so let's go have a look. Try and reconnect to the server. Reconnect to the server. We can see here that we've got Swagger endpoints. Oh, we can try it out. Give me something, it collides with a property. Something was not happy with that. Okay, but that's cool. They gave me the Swagger. Interesting that that one did not. That one gave me the weather forecasts, direct link, but this gave me the Swagger. Okay. Alright, no, I need to. Here will be the thing. Can I debug this? So, it was the app host. So let's run it in its default configuration. See if I can get the debugger running with this as well. Cool, it has dropped this up to my other browser, which I don't want, but that's okay. We can pop you down here. Okay, so we can see call stack. So we're debugging across all of them. This is nice. I like this. So then we because everything's running, let's put a... let's go to the API. Let's see what happened with the issue there. So there's an issue within here. So let's put a breakpoint here. Okay, and then we will go to our Swagger. Let's go try it out. Execute, and we hit the breakpoint. Cool. So that's useful. I like that. That's cool. So we're saying new stream status is that, and then so we go okay. Yep. Status yeah. So we've returned. So we'll return that object. Then we return that. Okay. So where was the issue? Where did that issue come in? JSON property for collides with another property. Okay. Let's try and rename it. So let's call this current status. Okay. So what we'll need to do now is we'll need to go and change that over here too. Now it doesn't like rule violation because it wants it to have a capital letter. That's fine. We can do that. This doesn't like it here. Alright, let's not have rule violations if we can avoid it. Okay, so let's redo that. Cool. Once we pop up on our other browser, that's alright. So close these down, pop that up again. And we'll hit our breakpoint, and we will bump through there, and that's going to say current status yes. Okay, and then we continue. And 200 okay. Alright, so didn't like something to do with using status as the parameter name. That's fine. All good there. Alright, so now then, if we go to the web front end, we didn't put a link. That's alright. What's it called? Page. We'll stream something. Web pages status. Still called a stream status, but we called the object status. Okay. So now. It's saying loading because we're waiting. Continue that on. There we go. Cool. So we've successfully added in a new API within this Aspire project. So we're able to tie that together. We're able to get that all running. Cool. I guess the only other thing to do would be to check. Stop that. So the next part would be actually, okay, we've got a service running. We have two APIs, a web host, some service defaults, and a Redis cache. So we would then want to deploy that. So that's the workload. So what would be, so this is all about the dashboard, metrics we can go through. Cool, and we've kind of, this is what we've kind of explored as we were going through it ourselves. So a bit more of that. Orchestrated service communication, yep. Went through that. Cool. So Aspire components. Okay, cool. So this is how we would put in different components like Redis. Interesting. Might play with the OpenAI stuff just because I am a big fan of AI stuff at the moment. So I do like playing around with that. So certainly something to interesting to see if I can get that to work with a local LLM. Would be good. Cool. Key Vault would also be a really solid one to demonstrate. MongoDB, SQL, so yeah, RabbitMQ. So also it'd be interesting to see if I could use RabbitMQ in local, but then determine if I'm not running it local, then call like Service Bus or something like that. Cool, so that's certainly something to look at. So that's the distributed orchestrator. So I guess the next thing would be to look up kind of how would you deploy this application. So, because we've got it running, it's all running together, and that's cool, but how would we then build this out into CI/CD pipelines and get this updated into a live environment? So I think that'll be a project for another time. I don't think I'm going to start that tonight. I have an early start tomorrow, so I might call it for tonight. Interesting that this is heavily intertwined into full Visual Studio. So, but we'll see how much we can get done with Visual Studio Code, and see how much we can understand of the project structure with that. There might be a plugin. Let's have a look, see if there's any extensions for Aspire. If anyone's done anything on that yet. There's a manifest generator, but I don't think there's anything else at the moment. That's okay. It's pretty new. The focus looks to be on Visual Studio, which is fine. I can certainly have a look at getting Visual Studio up and running. I think I've got it on here. I'll check later. Cool. Alrighty. Well, I think this has been a successful stream. It looks like multi-streaming is working, which is great. No hiccups there. We went through the Aspire quick start, had a look how it ran. We extended it, added our own API in. Was able to integrate that together. Cool. So I think this project looks super interesting. I really want to dig into it more, especially around the components, and then looking at how we can take all of that, build CI/CD on top of it, and actually get this app deployed into an environment. Definitely it's going to be cloud native, so it's going to focus on deploying to Azure. That's how it's going to be tied, and that's fine. Yeah, I think I'd have to look at something like Radius, I think, if I want to work more native Kubernetes, which is something I do on my home server. But for now, this looks really cool. Interested to see where this goes. I believe they're having some release candidates come out, so it may not be far from GA, which would be pretty interesting. Cool. Alrighty, well, hope everyone has had a great evening. Thank you for tuning in, and I will catch you all next time.